author interview with the wonderful ShaRhonda Green, who's a fantastic poet. Hello, ShaRhonda.
Hello, how are you
How
guys?
are you? Now, you'll have to excuse my English accent because obviously some names are pronounced differently here in America. So, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, ma'am. It is ShaRhonda Green, and my pen name is Foxy Speaks.
Fantastic. Now, you've just brought me to my first question. Um, you're a fantastic poet. How on earth did you come up with Foxy Speaks as your pen name? I think it's fantastic. It's so catchy.
Okay, well, Foxy Speaks is kind of a combination. So, my maiden last name is Fox. And when I went to
Mm.
boot camp about 10 years ago, all of the girls at boot camp, they kind of started calling me Foxy. And then after that, the name just kind of stuck and it just didn't go away. And then when I went to college, everybody called me Foxy. And it was just easier for people to call me Foxy than to call me ShaRhonda because it's always been a little difficult for some people to pronounce. And then the speaks part, I kind of added the speaks part because I like doing poetry, I like writing stories, I like doing short stories. So I felt like I like to speak. So I just kind of combined Foxy and Speaks together. And that's how I came up with the pen name Foxy Speaks. And I wanted to kind of keep everything universal. So I had
Yeah,
created my website a few years before I actually published. So I just kind of wanted to keep everything kind of the same. So I just went with the name Foxy Speaks.
I think it's absolutely fantastic and it's so catchy. And I'm sure anybody who's watching right now can see your beautiful book cover in the background, and it's just lovely. It makes your book stands out anyway because the cover is absolutely stunning.
Thank
But to
you.
have Foxy Speaks along the top as well, I think it's just wonderful. Now, you touched on it just a second ago. You're actually a Navy veteran, so I would be the first to say thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
It's absolutely wonderful. Now, have you always written poetry? I mean, before you went into the Navy, during, and obviously since?
Yes. So when I was like in the sixth grade, I started exploring the hobby of writing. I started with just short stories or just writing, kind of journaling whatever my emotions was. It was kind of my way of venting without
Yeah,
actually talking to somebody else. So that's how I kind of started with writing. And then when I got into my teenage years, that is when I actually started to construct poetry. So I
right.
didn't really know I could write poems, but as I got a little older, I would be writing, and sometimes I would do like little freestyle raps. And so
Oh, I
I
love
just
that.
started. So then I just started to write those things down, and then I just kept them, and I just always kept them. And so every now and then, if I felt like I wanted to like write something down, and I'll start writing, and sometimes it would start rhyming. And so I was like, okay. So I just started writing them and put together poetry. And then I started exploring different styles of poetry as well.
That's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And I don't know whether you can see from your end, but a lady called Malushka Garcia, she says she's very proud of you! Exclamation mark.
Thank you, Miss
Uh,
Garcia.
and obviously you've got quite a great deal of support. Your husband and family, friends, are they all supportive of you?
Yes, they are. They're very
Oh,
proud.
it's amazing. It's amazing. Now, obviously, I've googled you and had a look at all, your book and everything, and your reviews are absolutely amazing. And I've looked at your poetry, and you really do have a fantastic talent. Um, it's like each poem is like a story within a poem. So for people obviously who are new to your poetry and your work, try and explain to everybody who's watching what your poetry is about and who you're trying to reach with your words.
Okay. So the The majority of my poetry, I am just trying to reach anybody in the masses that can kind of relate to what I like to talk about in my poems. It's not a specific target group. I mean, it could be males, it could be females, teenagers, young adults, older adults, many cultures. I'm hoping that I'm just kind of reaching everyone. And
Fantastic.
within the poems and within those stories, I'm just trying to be kind of transparent with my readers so that way I can be more relatable to them. And that's the kind of feedback that I've been getting since I published the book, that a lot of people have went through similar situations or they can relate to the stories that I tell within my poem.
It's absolutely fantastic. As I said, I was reading all your reviews, and your review rating is absolutely phenomenal. It's fantastic. And obviously you just released it in January.
Yes.
Is that right? So I mean that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, what a tremendous start. So what made you to decide to actually, what gave you the umph to actually publish your poetry and put it out there for people to read? What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a writer. Even growing up, I would always talk about the different things that I wanted to do. I always knew very early on I wanted to be in the military, and I always knew very early on that I wanted to be a writer. And I always wrote, and I always blogged, and I always constructed quotes and sent things to my friends. But what made me really got serious about self-publishing is when I joined the Writers Rock group that I became a part of and just started networking with other writers. And then I realized, I said, hey, I can do this. I can go ahead and actually put a book out. And I started doing some research, and I had a friend that had put a book out. So I was like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm very happy that I did. It's a very fulfilling it's very fulfilling to know that the book is out, people can read it. That's what I always wanted to do, and it's just giving me the momentum to want to do it more and write more and put out more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I mean, obviously I'm a huge fan of the Writers Rock group. Wanda is absolutely amazing. She's just so supportive
Yeah,
to
she.
everyone involved. She really, really is. And it's so wonderful that people are connecting with your poetry in such a personal, deep way. And I think when you can reach people with such a deep connection, they then, they're telling their friends, they're telling their families, and word starts to spread, and and it builds up a nice momentum, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So what are your plans from now? I mean, obviously you're doing really, really well at the moment. Your reviews are fantastic. Everything is going brilliantly. Do you have a work in progress at the moment?
Yes, I do. I'm actually working on a trilogy. Is that how I say
Oh,
it?
that's exciting. That's
I'm actually,
exciting.
yes, I'm working on a trilogy now. So it's going to consist of two novellas and another poetry book. And so
Oh,
that's the project
fantastic.
that I'm working on now. And I just really want my supporters and my readers to please stay tuned for that because it's going to be really awesome stories coming.
That that's amazing. So what's going to be the theme or genre for the trilogy?
Okay. The genre for the trilogy is going to be urban fiction mixed with a little bit of African American poetry. And I already came up with the theme for the trilogy, and the theme will be Gotta Love Yourself.
Do you know what? I absolutely love that idea, and that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, a lot of us authors, um, have self-esteem issues where we just, don't believe enough in ourselves to put our work out there. And it's so fantastic that you're literally leading by example and showing other people, especially women, that maybe, have changed career paths, that there is still a possibility of a new career out there for everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you get many messages from people, who have read your poetry and you know tell you how it's connected to that, they've connected with your words?
Um, of now, I do get a lot of messages. When someone purchases my book, my supporters have been very good at like sending me a picture of the book and letting me know that they purchased it. So that's been
Oh,
really fun. And a few times that people have asked me about certain poems and how did I come up with them, and they kind of enjoyed like the story within.
and where does your inspiration come from, your poetry?
It just really comes from within myself most of the time. A lot of times I find myself when I want to get into like the mood of writing, I listen to Lauryn Hill. She gives me a lot of inspiration. I like listening to her music.
Oh, fantastic. It's amazing, isn't it, what can trigger words and poetry. And I'm just going to quickly read a couple of the comments because I don't know how close you are so you can see them.
Okay.
So Carol Anderson says, so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It's been
Carol. Thank you, Carol, for commenting. Malushka, I hope I'm saying that right. I have no clue if I'm saying it correctly. I'm really sorry, darling, if I'm saying it wrong. She says, I love the title of your book. How did you actually decide on a title? And she also asks, were there any runner-ups?
so she wants to know how I came up with the title Transition.
Yes.
Okay, I came up with the title Transitions because it was pretty much explaining me transitioning from the young woman that I was when I wrote majority of those poems, kind of transitioning into the person that I am today, and that's how I came up with the title Transition.
That's fantastic. And I was ex-Royal Air Force. And I wasn't in there nowhere near as long as obviously you was in the Navy. But even still, it's quite a hard transition itself to go from the military back into civilian life, isn't it? Because
Yes,
it's a
it is.
whole different set of rules and expectations. Um, do you do you feel that transitioning from the military back into normal civilian life, has that inspired you or changed you or affected you and your poetry?
In ways it has. I definitely have a poem in my book that it was about me joining the military for sure. Pretty much the military has assisted me in some of my growth areas and maturity level for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think anybody who's in the military that's now watching would probably agree there are completely different social rules and ways of life in the military that just aren't in civilian life, are they?
Yes, ma'am.
But I mean, it's fantastic how you're just drawing your inspiration from all these different areas. It's just absolutely wonderful. Now, I've got to ask you, the beautiful lady on the front of your book cover, is that you?
It's not me.
But you could, well, then
I
you could be like
definitely.
sisters. Where did this beautiful lady come from?
So, about my book cover. So I was working with a few people to try to get like the perfect book cover. I ended up joining this writer group. They're only book designers in the group, and
Right.
they had all of these already pre-made covers, and they were so awesome. And I actually found about three of them, and so it ended up my husband decided on this cover. He said this was the one that he liked the most, and I end up join it as well because she did kind of favor me because everybody knows before I got my hair locked that I had free natural hair and I had an afro. And so because she kind of favored me and because she kind of represented like the transition as well, that's the
Yeah.
reason why I went ahead and decided on the cover. But I definitely got that question a lot of times. They were asking, was that me on the cover? And I told them, no, it wasn't me, but she definitely does represent me for sure.
She's like your soul sister.
Yeah.
Uh, well, do you know what? I mean, who better to give you input than your husband who's reading your work and knows you the best? I think that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to have a quick look. Oh, Tatiana Stern says, I love the cover because she does really favor you. And
Thank
Pam
you.
Brown, hi Pam. She says, "Hey cousin, proud of you." It's absolutely wonderful, isn't it? How we can surprise people with trying new and different things. When obviously when you was in the Navy, did you ever ponder then about publishing poetry, or did you really make your mind up to do it after you came out?
I'm actually still serving. I'm in the reserves sector right now. Um, I never felt like I would stop writing. And I'm still in, I'm still serving, and I still feel the need to still write, and I still feel the need to reach a certain community and population. So I think I'm gonna still continue to write even after I retire from the military.
It's just fantastic. It's absolutely amazing, and to see your see and hear your journey going through all these different steps is just tremendous. So for those obviously that don't know you, did you self-publish or did you go through a publishing house?
I actually self-published. That was the route that I kind of wanted to take because I wanted to kind of learn how to do it on my
Yeah,
own. So I definitely self-published. I definitely would recommend self-publishing. I'm definitely not against people using publishers, but me self-publishing has been a little more fulfilling. Yes, you have to do a little bit more work on your
yeah,
end as far as with marketing and finding the editor and doing the formatting and actually going out picking your cover. But after all that hard work and after it's done and after it's out, it's a very fulfilling. You feel very fulfilled.
yeah.
So I personally like self-publishing and I plan to do it again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful thing is that because you've got so many beautiful and fantastic, 5-star reviews, obviously that sets you then up for when you release your trilogy, and do your other books as well. It's absolutely fantastic. It really, really is. Now, do you find that obviously you've got a lovely support system, and obviously I'm reading the comments, you've got fantastic friends who are supporting you and encouraging you to keep going. Have you actually inspired anybody close to you to think about publishing themselves?
Well, a few people have told me that they want me to help them publish and that they're writers too. So I told them, of course, I would help them. And I really hope that they're serious because it's nothing better than having your own book out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is quite nerve-wracking. Obviously we've done it, but we've
Oh,
also been
yes.
through the process of the nerves, and it's like bearing your soul, isn't it? You pour your heart out into your work, you
Yes.
then share it out for everybody to see, and then be judged. So it's quite a nerve-wracking situation. Is there anything that you've learned along the way that you wish you had done in your process? I know,
Yes.
it's one big learning curve constantly, isn't it?
Yes. So my biggest learning curve has to be just making sure that when I'm stuck and when I need some help, that I actually reach out and get the help that I need. Because
Mm,
at one point doing my publishing, I was stuck because I didn't know how to do something. And all it took was for me to reach out and say, hey, I need some help. And someone was very willing and very open to helping me. Her name is Nakia Slater. I met her in the Writers Rock group and she was very helpful to me and she still is.
oh,
And then as soon as I got that assistance, it was just everything hit the ground running after that.
that's just fantastic, isn't it? There is something to be said, with joining groups, connecting with like-minded people, no matter what your genre. And I think that's why both of us love the Writers Rock group so much, because there's so many different authors in so many different genres,
Yeah.
you know, from poetry to sci-fi and, you know, suspense, and it's great, as you said, to be able to reach out and get that help and feedback and advice, you know, as and when you need it. That's absolutely wonderful. So what is your long-term plan? Are you looking at building a full-on writing career?
I'm hoping so. Yes. That has always been a goal for me to just, if I ever can become a full-time writer, that would be my ultimate goal for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you? I know you said you self-published. What self-publishing route did you go down? Did you use a company like Ingram Sparks, or did you just go through Amazon? How did you personally do it?
Yeah, I ended up using Amazon. That
Mm-hmm.
was the one that I was most familiar with. It was very user friendly to
Mm.
me personally. So I definitely would recommend anyone that is a new writer or that wanted to go the self-publishing route. There's plenty of tutorials out there for the Amazon. It's called Amazon Kindle Publishing, KDP. I think that's
A
Amazon
Kindle
Kindle
Direct
Publishing.
Publishing.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
felt like it was very user friendly to me. Like it gave you step by step. It wasn't no confusion. If you did something wrong, it would like hold you in that spot to make sure you corrected it. The only
yeah,
thing with the Amazon is if you do not get your own what's the number, the ISBN number, they will
yeah. The
give you the ISBN.
barcode. Yeah,
Yeah, the barcode number. If you don't, if you do want your book to be like somewhere else, it would be best to purchase your own ISBN number, because if you use the one on Amazon, you can only sell your book on Amazon.
now, interesting fact, and I mean, like you, I'm constantly learning as I go along. I also published with Amazon, KDP, and you're absolutely right. It was so easy to do, and
Mm-hmm.
they have free apps that you can download to do your own cover, format your own book. It's invaluable. And the one thing I love is the fact that we get a author dashboard as well. So, you know, we can see
Yeah.
all our reviews, what
Mm-hmm.
we're selling, and everything else. One thing that I just found out recently was that by ticking the box on there for extended distribution,
Mm.
Amazon actually do their extended distribution through Ingram Sparks,
Okay.
who then go on to sell through like Barnes and Nobles and everything else. And I didn't realize that. And for the longest time, I didn't have the extended distribution ticked. And then when I found out, I wanted to slap myself.
I'm glad I'm learning that now.
But you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? I think even authors that have been in the business and published 20, 30 books, whatever, I don't think you ever stop learning, do you?
No, you don't. It's always something new to learn or
Yeah,
something new to share.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we've got two more messages. One's from Carol Anderson. Looking forward to teaching me how to self-publish. That's so cool. So it's lovely when you can inspire other people to chase their dreams, isn't it?
Yes.
Pam Brown, she says, yes, she's so amazing, and I love your accent, Beth. Oh, thank you. It never goes. Carol said, great information about Amazon. You are a very intelligent lady. You must mean ShaRhonda. You can't mean me, because I'm not there for brains. I'm more creative. Intelligence is not my strong suit. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So let me ask you, obviously, because you know you're really fresh to the whole publishing journey, which is fantastic because everything's constantly changing all the time. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about doing the same journey now?
Okay. My advice would be to never stop writing. Always keep writing, whether you're writing that book that you want to put out, whether you're journaling or just writing some thoughts to yourself. I would recommend, even if, because like every day I'm not working on my project, but I'm always writing something to keep my creative flow going. Because it's
Yeah.
very easy to get kind of sucked into the rabbit hole and find yourself into writer's block. That's what they call it. But I'm just gonna say that I'm not gonna believe in writer's block anymore, and I'm gonna keep my creative juices flowing, and I'm gonna keep my creativity open. So I am rebuking writer's block from here on now. I am not even gonna use the word. So for all my new writers and for all my people that are interested in taking on this journey, whether you're gonna put out just one book or if you want to put out 5 books or 10 books, just always write, always journal, always keep your thoughts, and never throw anything away because you can always go back and use something somewhere.
Yeah, that's really good advice, actually. Really good advice, because I find myself quite often going back and looking at things that I've written over the years. I never call it writer's block. I call it having a creative rest.
Yes.
That's what I have, and I go and do something else until my brain is, gone back to normal and I'm feeling all creative again, and then I'll go back to it.
Right.
But I'm with you. I think even calling it creative block, writer's block, is a negative thing to say.
It is. And
You're
it's
putting it,
easy
and
to put things in our subconscious. It's so easy to do that.
it
So
is.
I'd just rather not even use it. Say, okay, I'm just going to take, like you said, a creative rest.
Yeah,
And in the meantime, I'm just gonna journal something else, or I'm gonna read something else, or listen to
yeah,
that thing that keeps you inspired and makes you want to go back and finish whatever that project is that you left off on. But
yeah,
to call it writer's
absolutely.
block, I feel like when people say it, they're like, "Oh, I have writer's block." That doesn't give them the motivation to want to keep going and to get back to it.
Exactly. Just the terminology makes you sound like you're stuck, and
Yes.
instead of like
I don't want to be
sidestepping and
stuck.
yeah, exactly. Oh, Malushka says, love your I haven't got my glasses. I'm struggling to. I should have put them on, but I don't like wearing them. Um, love the positivity. Goodbye, writer's block. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Pam says, love that creative pause. Exactly, Pam. And it is in your mindset, isn't it? Whether um, how you mentally process your own journey. Um,
Mhm.
do you have any writing quirks when you're writing? I know some people do that. They'll have certain music on, or they have to have peace and quiet. What are your writing quirks as you're writing your poetry or coming up with ideas?
Okay, what I like to do is I like to either one, listen to my Lauren Hill, the Miseducation of Lauren Hill in her Unplugged album, or I like to watch some old TV shows that kind of trigger my writing for some reason. It's certain TV shows, and they're typically like old series that don't even come on anymore. They just show reruns.
Yeah,
Sometimes when I'm writing those, they just give me like some inspiration, and I'd be like, oh, I want to write today. And I'll just have those things going on, and I'll just be into my book and just into my story. And then
yeah.
sometimes you be so into your story and you be so into your book, I have to literally pull myself out of it.
But those are the best moments, aren't they? And for me, it always happens really late at night. Inspirational strike, and I know I should be going to bed, but I can't stop because it's flowing. And do you find that, and you literally just have to say, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to be tired tomorrow. This is flowing. I need to do this now. Do you get those moments?
Yes, I do. And typically, some reason I like writing on, I like to write like this time of the day for some reason. It's like sometime between like 5 p.m. to like 7 p.m. Some reason, always during those times, I can write like the most stuff and brainstorm the best things to write.
Now, do you think that's because you've done everything else that you need to for the day? Do you see what I
Yeah,
mean? And it's
I've
like,
got
okay,
all those other things out of the way. You done cook, you done clean, you
yeah,
done your working out, you done did went to work, you gotten all those things out of the way. And
yeah,
so yeah, there might be why, because it's just now I can kind of be in my own thoughts, and sometimes writing for me can be a stress reliever as well.
yes.
So normally in those evening times of the day, I find myself getting into my writer spirit. And so I would sit down and I would write. Even if I'm just brainstorming a chapter, I would brainstorm that chapter.
It's funny, isn't it? I don't think a lot of people are aware of just how therapeutic writing is in any form. As
Yes.
you said, whether you're journaling or you're writing a novel or poetry, it's a very therapeutic thing to do, isn't it? Putting your thoughts and your feelings and everything else on
Yes,
paper.
it is. Yep.
Um, I had a car accident in 2007, and writing poetry was, for me, a way of coping with that and taking my mind off the situation and what I was going through. Do you find it a real comfort for you when you go through, the trials of life, to just pour out your heart on paper and just let it help you?
Yes. I would say that I am a very transparent and very vulnerable writer. I remember when I finished publishing this first book, my first thing my husband said was, "You're very brave for putting that book out." He said
Oh,
it was like pages from a diary, and it really was. And
yeah,
but I found that once it's out there, once I put it on that paper, I've pretty much taken care of the situation and I've handled it. And then I just want others to just be able to do that too, and to kind of see that they can find themselves and get themselves out of whatever situation that it is. And for me, writing about it helps me get out of situations.
yeah, yeah. And going through the thought process as well. Tatiana Stern says writing definitely is therapeutic. She journals. And it's a good way, isn't it? I know it's brilliant. Well done for her, because um I always think sometimes it's harder to vocalize your feelings, but it's
Yes,
easier to write them down. And uh, and also, if you want somebody to take your feelings or your thoughts seriously, sometimes they won't do it if you tell them, but they'll take it and absorb it if they're reading it.
that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So, Carol Anderson says, "Do you ever record yourself before you write?"
Hmm. I don't as of yet. I see a lot of people that are really great at spoken word poetry. Maybe I'll graduate to that one day. I haven't like gotten enough courage to go and like speak it out yet. But I love going to spoken word. I enjoy it a lot, and I'd be like, man, I wish I could get to that point where I don't write it down and I can go and recite it as well. But I haven't graduated to that yet. But maybe that would be something else I could work on for the future.
And when you're editing your poetry, when you go back, because obviously writing poetry is the same as any form of writing. We
Yes.
do our first draft, go back, edit, and everything else. Do you read it out loud as you're editing to help you with, how it sounds, the rhythm of it?
Yes. So typically, what I do, I am a paper and pen writer. Okay. I love to get that paper and that pen out as soon as my thoughts, and then if and it just so happened, because this has happened before. I was literally walking, and it was a poem that I had been wanting to write for like a year, and it just seemed like I couldn't get past the second stanza. And then one day I was literally walking outside in nature, and the poem just started to come out. But I didn't have my paper and pen, so I had to pull my phone out, and I like texted to myself because I didn't want to lose it in that moment. So
Yeah.
once I texted to myself, I went back and I rewrote it down on a sheet of paper. And then when I edit it, typically when I edit the poem is when I type it up in on the computer, or if
Yeah.
I rewrite it for a second time. That's normally when I edit it and I might find like another word, or I might change a word, or I might try to get another word in there, kind of make it flow a little better. A lot of my poems are conversations that I'm having. So it's not like the ABC 1, 2, 3 stanza, like, oh, this word is gonna rhyme with this word. Sometimes it's literally talking. And so as I'm reading it, sometimes I have to take pauses because that's how I'm writing it. I'm literally taking pauses as I'm doing the poem.
Right. Yes. Now, oh, I've got another question. Layla Holt says she does. She records herself before she writes, and she says, I read her book Transitions. It is beautiful. Oh, there we go. So,
Thank you.
Layla, I hope you left an Amazon review.
Yes, could you tell them how important the reviews are?
That's the thing, isn't it? As before we publish, we don't actually realize how important Amazon reviews are. It's
Yes.
not until we actually publish our own work that we realize how much a massive difference it means. And you know, whether it's poetry, whatever genre you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
we are literally competing against millions of other books,
Yes.
millions. And I've got to say, your reviews are so good that I noticed that you're in between, I think it was 1 and 300 in the ratings out of all those other people. And that is fantastic. But that's because your reviews are so good, because your poetry is so good. But every single review that you receive, you bump up on the Amazon chart. So it makes a massive difference. In fact, I was so shocked that I actually went back and reviewed all the books that I'd read.
Yes, because it's very beneficial for the
Ye-
person, for sure.
Absolutely. And obviously sharing as well.
Yes.
Do you share the awesome reviews that you get? Do you share those reviews on your social media and website?
Not as of yet, but it's gonna be something. Put something out probably on my website, and I'll start highlighting those reviews and thank. And I do thank the people that went out and did the reviews. I thank them personally. So please,
Yeah.
thank you so much for those reviews. I'm
It
so
makes a big
appreciative.
difference. Yeah, it makes a big difference. I must admit, I'm like you. If anybody pays a compliment or reads it or reviews, I always thank them personally, because they've taken the time to do it for us. So it does make a massive difference. Layla says, I will write a review. You are awesome. There we go. That's another review for you. Pam Brown says she left her review. Pam, I think I read your review because I was reading them all earlier. They're just absolutely fantastic. They really are. So your aspirations for the future. Obviously, you're going to be writing your trilogy, which is going to include some more of your poetry as well. That's absolutely wonderful. So, where are you at the moment? Are you on book 1, or how is your trilogy going at the moment?
It is going really good. So I'm on book 1. However, poetry comes when poetry comes. So I am
Yeah.
literally writing book 1, but I am also writing the poetry book as well, which is
Yeah.
it's considered, I'm going to put it as book 3. But as I'm writing book 1 and 2, I'm going to be writing poems in there, sliding them in when I can. So, yep, I'm already up to like 3 or 4 poems. So stay tuned to those because I might be doing some sneak peeks.
Fantastic. I know readers absolutely love it when they get a little snippet, or a little teaser, because especially if they love your work already, it's a fantastic way of keeping them all connected and everything. Now with transitions, did you launch your book just straight off, or did you go through the pre-order process?
I actually launched this straight off. I think I did the pre-order for the ebook for a little while.
Mm.
And then when I launched, once the paperback was ready, I just launched both of them. I
Yes.
think next go round, I am going to have a pre-order period for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, definitely, especially springboarding off your fantastic debut book. I mean, that definitely sounds like it would be the best option, because we can actually put our books on pre-order for, I think it's 90 days, I think it's 3 months. And if you've already got, you know, your following and your social media platforms, it makes sense, doesn't it, to sort of put it on pre-order,
Yeah.
try and get in as many orders as you can, and then on release day all those orders go through all in one day, which will put you hopefully on the, you know, the top page of Amazon. Be absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited for you and your poetry and everything. It's absolutely awesome. And obviously now you're doing author interviews and everything. Maybe we can try and convince you to do maybe a couple of poetry reads.
Okay. Yes, I can. I got my book ready.
That would be fantastic. Fantastic. I'm so
Right.
excited. So we got a couple more comments. Carol Anderson
Yes,
said,
I'm actually getting some comments over here myself.
"You are, you are." Well, Carol Anderson says, "I will write a review also." And she said, "Great idea about the pre-orders." I'm so glad we've got so many coming and commenting and joining in today. It's absolutely fantastic.
I
Did you
really
get any questions
appreciate the
your end?
support.
Uh, I'm sorry, say that again, darling.
Oh, I said I really appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes all the world of difference. It really does.
Yes, ma'am. And I do want to put out there that a lot of people knew I was writing, but a lot of people did not know I was actually putting out a book. So I was really excited when finally the book cover came back and Amazon had like reviewed it and said it was good to go. I was so happy to actually put it out on my page, and so many people were shocked about it because they
Yeah,
didn't know I was actually publishing. They just knew I was like more of a freelance writer or just blog, but they didn't really know that the book was coming out. So it was very fun. This was very fun. This is my little baby, and my little baby, I learned all the mistakes I needed to learn with writing it, and I'm just going to
yeah.
keep promoting it and keep marketing, and I'm just going to move forward from here.
That's it's absolutely fantastic. And oh, I think we got another comment. Hang on. So Layla says, such a talented writer, which you are. I can vouch for that. She says, they love you. Um, and my sister is actually watching, my sister Emily, and she says, I would like to hear some poetry now. Lovely, beautiful lady, and very inspiring. Well, there you go. She took the words right out of my mouth. See, my sister knows talent when she sees it too. So are you okay to read one now?
Yes, I am. I am okay
Okay,
to read one.
wonderful,
All
wonderful,
right.
wonderful.
So I'm going to read, for those of you that have a copy of the book, please turn to page 13 if you have your books on hand.
I love that. I love it.
And I'm going to be reading the poem titled Feel Your Pain. I cannot sit back watching a strong man endure the pain, watching as all your cloudy days turn into rain. When all you want is happiness, all the smiles you can bear, you get a slap in the face watching her walk out of the door without a care. Looking at you hold it in, knowing soon you will snap, knowing you gave your all, now you feel as if you are trapped. Days of confusion, tears, and cries, followed by unwanted fears, terrible lies. pondering when will this hurt pass you by. But you can only imagine the feeling of watching you endure it all, when all I want to do is love you, cherish you for everything, no matter how big or small. Hate to feel your pain, knowing I cannot do anything at all. Feel your pain.
That's absolutely amazing. I tell you, whoever hasn't bought her book, you need to. It's absolutely wonderful how you connect so well with real life situations. It really, really is. So is there any plans for a short audio book maybe?
Ooh. Um, Maybe. I haven't looked into the audiobook, but I heard through some research I was doing that audiobooks are starting to get really popular. Then I was thinking like, maybe I need to do an audiobook.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. And the great thing, oh, Pam says encore.
Oh,
But I can't. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't see if those are like clappy hands or whether it's some other emoji. I don't know, but I'm going to clap because I absolutely love that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the audiobook market is just exploding right now,
yeah.
and I've got to say, if I had the money myself, it's something that I would be doing. Um, but also there is a real market for quick reading books that can be read in an hour. Um,
Okay.
so the nice thing for you is that, you know, you're hitting the poetry market, you know, you're hitting the market for literature that's about real life situations. And obviously, you know, you're hitting the market for, you know, a shorter read book as well. So you're sort of ticking loads of boxes right now, which is absolutely fantastic for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, what would be the one big piece of advice that you would give to other aspiring poetry book writers?
um, I would say that it is okay to have different forms of poetry. Um, a lot of times we get kind of, I would say a lot of times with poetry, they feel like it only has to be done one way or it has to be spoken.
Yeah,
But writing poetry can be just as good as writing a story as well. Everything doesn't have to rhyme, everything doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to be that A, B, 1, 2, 3 type of thing. It can literally, some of my poems are literally conversation and they just turned into poems.
yeah,
So, and the poem that I just read, I really like that one. It has a little uniqueness to it because I wrote it 10 years ago, but I rewrote it maybe like a couple years ago and made it to what it is when I published it. So, with poetry, that's the good thing about poetry. You could take something that you wrote a long time ago and make it relevant for what's going on, like what's your situation going on now. Because when I originally
absolutely.
wrote that poem, it was something totally different. And I took that poem and I kind of changed it into what it was. So
That's the thing, isn't it? Poetry is so adaptable, isn't it? Because, you know, as you said, it can be aimed at any genre. You know, it can be in any style. Um, you know, and it can either connect with people or inspire them or give them something to really think about. It's just an amazing art. It really, really is. Pemberley says, when she reads, she beams. Lovely poem. Oh, that's so lovely. You do actually. Do you know, it's lovely to see the pride that you have for your work. And it's lovely to see you being, you know, such a confident woman, and it is tough. And you know, I think one of the main stumbling blocks that we have, um, being women, is our gender and being taken seriously for
yeah.
our work, whatever it is. I don't. Was that you? What was that me? That was me.
Okay. I was about
I don't know. Somebody was trying to ring me. I didn't even recognize the name. That was weird. But yeah, it's so adaptable, isn't it? Now, obviously, you like your music. Have you ever thought of turning any of your poetry into songs and doing a little bit of songwriting as well?
Not as of yet. You should see my husband. He's shaking his head like, no, no, no. I mean, you never know. I might, hey, if a really famous artist comes along and read my poem and say, hey, can I sample your poem and make it a song? I'm gonna say yes. What's the price? I'm starting at 10,000.
You know what? The reason I'm asking is because, like you, I wrote poetry from a very, very young age. And then my poetry actually turned into songwriting.
Okay.
Just out of the blue one day, as I was writing a poem, the melody was just popping into my head. And next thing you know, I wrote a song and then another one, and it sort of went on from there. And because you like your music, the same as I do, because I've always been very musically minded, I was just wondering if you'd ever found that happening to you.
Honestly, I'm gonna say it could definitely possibly happen in the future, because I do plan on learning how to play the piano. So you just never know. I might be playing that piano, and then next thing you know, I'm like doing a song.
You don't even have to wait for that. I literally, I cannot play an instrument. I'm still like a complete newbie at the guitar. I haven't got a clue. But the great thing is,
my husband plays the guitar.
Oh, there you go. See, and you got a partner in crime to do it with. But I actually used an app called GarageBand, or Garage Band if you're American. See, I know the lingo. And that has all the instruments for you. So I literally, what I heard in my head, I found the keys and I just did it all myself. So who knows where it could lead? Especially as your poetry is so connective with people.
Yes, ma'am. When I make my first song, make sure to send it to you.
Just remember your friends when you're famous. That's all I'm saying. Oh, hang on. So we've got Layla says her poems flow perfectly. I absolutely agree with that. And that's another reason why I was asking about the possibility of songwriting, because your poems have such lovely flow. And I think some poetry that I've read, it's when I've read it to myself, I've sort of stumbled over words. Yours don't do that at all. You've got such a beautiful flow with your words and getting the story across and everything. Carol Anderson says multiple streams of income. Go for it. There we go. Look, there we go. And just so you know, songwriters actually earn more money than the artists that sing the songs.
I heard that. So that's why I said if an artist comes along, I'm gonna get my royalty.
Honestly, it's true. And Dolly Parton is a fantastic example, actually, because she is foremost a songwriter, and she has probably made more money from her songwriting than actually singing the songs. And a good example is when Whitney Houston did that cover, "I Will Always Love You," which was like #1 for like 6 weeks. Dolly Parton earned an absolute fortune on those sales. So it's amazing how things can then move on and lead. So who knows after your trilogy's done? It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on today, and also the benefit of doing the live read as well. I might have to ask Wanda or if maybe you can read out some more of your poetry on the Writers Rock group.
I sure will. I do not mind.
You've got a beautiful voice, and you read your poetry so well. I love it. Absolutely love it. So thank you so much, darling. If you could possibly, I'll be sharing this video for everybody as well. So anybody who isn't able to join us live, can still watch the full video. Obviously, you're posting your video because we're recording at two ends at the moment, which is absolutely brilliant. So we can literally post it everywhere for everyone to see both ends. Could you also, once I share them, could you possibly add your links to the comments so people can, you know, buy straight away?
Yes, I can. Just the links to like my website.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And you don't have to do it now. You can wait until I share them later.
Okay.
That's absolutely fine. But it would be lovely for obviously people can buy and
I'll add the link to my website, to my Instagram, and also to the book. So if they haven't purchased it, that they can go out and get it.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, anybody who's listening, if you're a budding poet yourself, or you want to ask ShaRhonda any questions about her publishing journey that I may not have asked, that you'd like to know, please post in the comments still, because ShaRhonda can check for any other questions and comments and then answer them for you. This is the wonderful thing about the Writers Rock group, is that we're all here for each other, and we both of us are living examples of, it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter what level of experience you have. If you're willing to learn and go for it and put your work out there, there's no limits, is there?
It isn't.
Absolutely no limits. Thank you so much, darling. I truly appreciate you joining me today. I hope you will come back and do another interview when your trilogy is being released. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I certainly will. And for anybody that's interested in becoming a part of my newsletter, please send me a message with your email address, please.
Fantastic. And make sure you do that, because being able to receive newsletters from ShaRhonda means that you're going to get her news, her updates. You're going to find out when the trilogy is going to be published and everything. So it's the best way of getting ShaRhonda's author news direct from her. So make sure you please do that. So thank you, honey. And I hope that we'll get to do it again soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, darling. And we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.